All right, we are back for, as it turns out, I hadn't intended this, but part 2. And the reason for that is we were talking about being kind of gentle with yourself and setting up an environment that's conducive, and there's all sorts of techniques for doing that, but we talked about one of them is treating yourself with compassion as you would a child, and let that creativity in you, whether it's an old friend or a brand new experience, you treat it with respect and you try and nurture it. So we talked on through that, and as I started drawing this, I drew that nose, and I didn't go back and look at the recording, but I think I said, I hate that nose. That doesn't quite track, does it? So I'm going to give a little bit of a talk about that. So the fact is, you're going to do things that you're not crazy. And when I said I hate it, I wasn't upset about it. It didn't ruin my day or anything. It's just, it just wasn't my best moment. And of course, that's going to happen. You're going to be drawing, or you're going to be talking with people, or you're going to be driving to town, and you're going to do something that's not your best moment. And you're going to feel how you feel about that. And you can't just suppress those feelings. You can't, it's not healthy to tamp them down, to pretend they're not there. But you don't let it rule your day, or ruin your day. And so you let it kind of move, rather than coming and get stuck and obsessing about it, you let it move through you. And then you look at it as, trying to look at it in the good. Say, okay, I didn't do my best job on that nose. So I'm simply going to redraw it. It's just a sketchbook. It's no big deal. I'm just going to redraw it. If I painted it in, I can paint over it. You know, there's always a way to look at it, or usually a way to look at it where it's not a disaster. Sometimes disasters strike, but oftentimes it's not as bad as we think. So I'll simply do it again, and that's what we're going to do in this little lesson. The other thing is that mistake, that lack of excellence, is an opportunity. Okay, maybe I need to work on noses a little bit more, or maybe I need to work on feeling and sketching in that underneathness that we have in this case. I didn't do a good job of getting underneath that nose, and that's the root of that problem. So maybe I'm going to come in and construct this in a once again, and hopefully do it better. And I might goof this up, and I might go, oh my God, that's worse than the original. I hate it. And go ahead and be frustrated for a moment if you need to be. And then do it again. Or if you're just beside yourself in frustration, take a break. Go do something. Go eat a half gallon of ice cream. Do something that's nice for yourself. Maybe the ice cream wouldn't be the best idea. Okay, so I'm going to really work on my underneathness. So one of the things I noticed, even as I was drawing it, I was kind of working half rendering as I sketched. So in this case, I'm going to leave out the rendering. For the most part, I give a little bit of the character of the hair. I try and give a little of the character. Remember, simple yet characteristic. Little of the character of what we're drawing here. A simplification sometimes of the contour, but I'm going to avoid, as I did on that nose, actually drawing the contour of it. And in that way, hopefully, I'll do a better job of constructing that head and constructing the nose as it rests on the landscape of the head. And one of the things that we want to, and I like putting in shadow shapes, I just love light and shadow. It's just the great joy, one of the great joys of my life is catching that, those beautiful shadow patterns and that wonderful light that tracks in the areas that aren't shaded out. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, even though it's not quite on point with what we're doing here. I just can't help myself. It's fun. I'm going to allow myself to have fun, especially in a sketchbook. I want to cultivate the playfulness, that childlike playfulness. So anything that reinforces that, try and do. With my kids, you find out we've got 4 kids, Jen and I, and you find that you're saying no a lot. No, you can't stay up late, or no, you can't look at that thing on the internet, or even look at the internet. No, 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 you can't have a second dessert. We really work hard trying to say yes as much as possible to your children. They get no a lot. So if we can tell them yes, maybe not more often than no, although that would be nice, but not say yes more than we otherwise would. And oftentimes I'll say no just out of instinct, just out of habit. And then I'll think for a second, so no, is there really a reason they can't do that? And then I'll come back and beg forgiveness and give them a yes. And then you get a big hug oftentimes. So that deferred yes has its benefits as well. So that's a little better. It's still a little long, so we can try it again. And so one of the wonderful things about sketchbooks, and one of the wonderful things about mastering the craft, is repetition. And that I love repetition. I've always loved it in sports, punching the bag, or practicing the forms, or swinging the club, or whatever it is. And I love it in art. I get to come back and relive it, and refine it, and try and master it, and get new discoveries about it. All that to me is very exciting. And it's a form of meditation. It's a form of relaxing in to this wonderful habit of drawing, and losing yourself, maybe losing some of the stress of what's going on at work, or at home, or with the water heater in the basement, or whatever it is. And just doing something for the sheer love of doing it. It's like petting a puppy dog. You do it just for the sheer pleasure. It's one of the great pleasures in life, to get to hold that little life and to see it so happy to see you, and spend a little time with it. You forget about the other things. So maybe I'll just work on the nose and a little bit of the brow. So I'll put in that little wedge structure between, it's a transition between forehead and nose. And I can start then seeing the direction, the dynamic direction things are going, and maybe that's going to help me structure this bit out in a more convincing way, more realistically convincing, or more stylistically convincing. I'm going to make it a Steve nose, not a nose. It's not going to be just anatomy. It's going to be my particular vision of the world, how I see things. That's where I'm always heading. The mastery of the craft for me, the attempt at it, is to be able to understand the world so well in terms of all of its kind of structural truths, that I can then use those structural truths in some way to create a poetic truth. Life is solid, life is murky, life is a battle. That was kind of one of the metaphors. We can struggle to figure out what pair of socks or tie to wear to work, or to an event or something. So it becomes these objects in nature, these wonderful structures in nature that we're working to grasp and get control of can become metaphors. They can stand for something that's bigger than themselves, more important, hopefully, than themselves. A landscape can be the promise that life can all come together in this beautiful, fluid way, or life is a murky, mysterious, exciting place to be. You don't have all the answers. Some of the information is missing. I went out on a dog walk with one of my daughters with our dog, and there was this beautiful fog coming off the river that we live fairly close to, and it took away a lot of information. There was a lot we couldn't see and couldn't get a hold of, couldn't see how far away it was from us or even what it was. And that was really beautiful, really exciting. And maybe that's what life is sometimes. We don't have all the answers. We can't see it all. So I'm looking for this stuff of life as a means for a little bit of poetry. It stands in. Sometimes it all comes together in your life and everything is perfectly composed, perfectly in harmony with all the other stuff. Okay, so notice as we're plugging along here, we get more and more specific. In this case, there's all sorts of ways you can do it. More and more specific targeting of that nose, of trying to get that structure in that position, and in this case, that underneathness that I missed the first time around. So that, oh, I hate it, ended up being this wonderful opportunity, this positive development in my life to become better at understanding what I was seeing and better at translating what I was seeing into something that's powerful, useful, gorgeous, whatever metaphor you want to put to it. All right, so we will leave it there, and thanks so much for spending time with me. I always appreciate it. You have no idea. And hopefully I will see and talk to you next time.